Have you ever thrifted or bought something that was just the perfect shape, fit you so well, but the color was a little off, or maybe it just didn't really suit you that well? Well, today we'll be learning how to properly dye your clothes so that you can have authority over your wardrobe. I'm Courtney, aka Scourtney, and welcome to my channel where we like to dress up and get creative with videos almost every week. So if you want to join the party, be sure to subscribe. Alright, so the inspo for today's video is the fact that I found this shirt at the thrift store, which I love, and I honestly like the color too, but I have a lookbook coming up, and for that lookbook I need an orange top that's shaped like this. So what we're going to be doing is dyeing this shirt orange today. Just a couple things before we start. When you are dyeing stuff, you want to make sure that it is a natural fiber, so stuff like cotton or wool will soak up the dye. So I guess just a disclaimer, if you have a synthetic piece that you're looking to dye, I know Rit has synthetic dyes, but I'm not sure how that process works, if it's the same or not, so maybe you're gonna need to go find another video for that, or maybe I'll do a video for that later on, we'll see. But today we are sticking to natural fibers. Now this shirt is 65% cotton and 35% polyester, so we'll see how it works out with it being a mixture of majority natural fibers. When I was in college, I took a intro to textiles class, and the professor left us with this beautiful just thing of resources and references. So one of the things that she left us with were these fabric guides. So it basically shows what the fabric was dyed with originally, and then what it was over dyed with. So if I have an orange fabric that is over dyed with the fuchsia, it would look like this color right here. And this has been really helpful with this specifically. I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and scan these and upload them to my website, which I do have, so I figured I'd make use of it. I'm gonna upload these to my website so that y'all can use it as a guide to choose the dyes that you want to use to over dye your pieces at home. I will link that in the description below so that you can, use these as a reference when you want to over dye your clothes, so that you can choose the right dyes. For example, this is a golden yellow, and the color that I want would be somewhere around here. So I would over dye with a fuchsia or a red, perhaps. Now, the next step is to look at the dyes that are available to me, because these were our class dyes, which I no longer have. With that in mind, I'm going to be looking at my actual dye options that I have here, which I believe are just red and coral. So I might just use those two, maybe mix a little bit of both, and over dye my garment to get this kind of red-orange color that I want. For these measurements, you want to start off with the dry weight of your fabric. I personally don't have a scale at home. I should probably get one, but I'm just going to estimate that this is about 15 grams of fabric. So for water, we would need the dry weight of fabric times 20 equals the amount of milliliters of water that we'll need. So for this case, 15 grams, it would equal 300 milliliters. For the dye amount, we would need the dry weight of fabric times 5% times 10. So 15 grams times 5% times 10 would equal to 7.5 milliliters of dye. For salt, we would need the dry weight of fabric times 10% and then multiply that by 10, which would equal to 15 grams of salt. For soda ash, we need the dry weight of fabric times 10% times 10, which would equal 15 grams of soda ash. And I will be including those formulas in the blog post for a quick reference if you need it. Next step would just be lay out all your ingredients and the quantities of them. If you don't have anything to measure in grams at home or milliliters, you can always convert to cups, teaspoons, tablespoons, and have those things ready for these next steps. Alright, I have moved to my bedroom floor, laid out my little plastic bag so that way it doesn't stain my ground. Also, make sure to get some gloves too so that you're not staining your hands. We gotta make sure that this is wet before it enters the bucket. So the recommended instructions are to soak it for 5 minutes and then wring it out. So go ahead and do that. Got my water in my bucket. Next thing that we're gonna do is put the salt inside the bucket, which for me it is 2.6 teaspoons. And I looked it up online. You can use anything from table salt to kosher or sea salt for this. Go ahead and stir that up. I read online somewhere that the salt isn't really a fixative, but it's more used to help the dye get into the fabric. That's what they say. Okay, next up is the dye. So we're gonna add that to the bucket. I have coral and red here. So if you wanna mix two dyes together, you can mix whatever quantities you want of each, so long as the total milliliters equals the measurement that you figured out earlier. Bleeding. Now that the water, salt, and dye are mixed in together, we're gonna go ahead and add our wet top or clothing item. And we're gonna stir this for 20 minutes. I think 5 minutes into it, we gotta add the soda ash. Hey Siri, set timer for 5 minutes. After 40 minutes, give or take, it's time to go ahead and start rinsing out the dye. So pour out the dye, then pour some cold water in this bucket and continue that motion of like being a human washing machine. Then put in some more cold water and keep doing that, gradually increasing the temperature of the water until you see that there's no dye running out of the water. All right, so just to review, we put the soda ash in, worked the dye in for 20 minutes, then let it sit for 40 minutes, came back to it, rinsed it out starting with cold water, working your way up to warm, using that little washing machine method again, and now here we are. Next thing is to just dry it, whether you hang it up or throw it in the dryer, and then you can see the final product. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, y'all, we have made it to the finale, the final reveal of what this garment turned out to be after over-dyeing it with red and coral. And it looks like this. All right, so very normal orange, I would say. Yeah, just regular orange. I was hoping for red orange, but that's okay. I'll just probably over-dye it with red again, and hopefully that'll work. I don't know. So yeah, just for reference, that's what I was hoping it would look like. At the top, that third and fourth square is what I kind of ended up with. So yeah, some things to consider. The dyes that were used to make these charts were, I would say, professional grade, so probably a lot more concentrated. They were dyes from school, so you know. And another thing, personal factor into this was that last time I used my red dye, I diluted it on accident with a little bit of water, so that might have had something to do with this as well. Well, this was a fun science experiment that we got to do today. I definitely learned a lot. I hope you did too. Also, thank you so much for being here with me today. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.